With hot weather on us, we need to learn how to make some ice cream. So how about an old-fashioned vanilla custard ice cream with caramel toppings and hot fudge toppings? Yep, I'm going to show you how to do them coming up right now on Cooking with Chef Bryan. Welcome everybody to Cooking with Chef Bryan. This today is one of my favorite things I'm going to show you how to do. It's ice cream. I mean, who doesn't love ice cream? These are delicious, and I even remember from my childhood, my great uncle and aunt, who have since passed on, they made the best ice cream, and it was a custard-based ice cream. And I just, even to this day, I remember that ice cream, the old hand crank that we'd go out in the patio and we'd mix that together over to my great grandmother's house, and oh, it was so good. So we're gonna start off with some eggs. Since it's a custard, it's gonna have eggs in it. To the saucepan, I have sugar that's already into here. I'm also going to add some cornstarch to it, which will help stabilize the ice cream, believe it or not. So cornstarch is a great thing in the ice cream. As it cooks in here and the custard cooks, that cornstarch will actually help it hold together so that you have a nice consistency of the cornstarch, of the ice cream in there. Also, I'm going to add a little bit of salt in there. And it's not a lot of salt, it's about a half a teaspoon or so is going to go into there. And of course, I think everybody needs an old-fashioned ice cream machine in their house, but nowadays I'd highly recommend the electric one, so you don't have to sit out there and turn the crank for an hour while that's freezing up. So now I have the sugar, the cornstarch, the salt in here. I'm just going to whisk together all of those ingredients so that they combine together in there and are evenly distributed. Now to this, we're going to add our milk, and also our heavy cream is going to go into here. Let's get that turned on, and I'll turn that up high so we can get that going. Put this into the sink out of the way. Here goes in our heavy cream. So really what we have here is basically a half and half mixture. Of course, I have the heavy cream. I have the milk that's in here, and that was whole milk. So you can use 1%, you can use 2%, you can use skim milk, whatever you'd like to do. I think it kind of defeats the purpose when you're putting heavy cream in there though, don't you? Okay, let's get this mixed together so that sugar and the cornstarch comes together into there. And this is just going to be a basic vanilla. Now you can use vanilla bean paste in here if you want the little vanilla beans in here. I'm just going to use some good real vanilla in there. And I am kind of heavy-handed when it comes to the vanilla, as you can see here. Just kind of pour that in there because I really like the flavor of vanilla. And so we're going to add that into there. So here we go. Now also over here I have 3 eggs, and I'm using whole eggs. I know there are some recipes out there that just have egg yolks in them, which will just change the consistency versus the egg yolks versus the egg whites in there. Me, I'm kind of one of those individuals, I don't like to waste any of the part of the egg, so I'm just going to add all 3 eggs into there and not worry about if it's a yolk or if it's egg whites or if it's 3 yolks and 2 egg whites. Anyway, you get the idea. 3 eggs are going to go into there, and we're going to actually temper these eggs, and that's one of the most important parts when it comes to ice cream making, is getting those, or anything custard wise, is tempering those eggs. So let's set that aside here. We're going to keep an eye on this because let me warn you, this will boil over if you don't watch it. And it's going to be that 1 second that you turn to answer a child or to answer the door or the phone or reply on a text message, boom, that's going to boil over. I guarantee it. So keep an eye on that. So these are all ready to go. I'll whisk the eggs, and we're going to add into it our hot mixture to temper that. And when you're tempering the eggs, what that does, it just brings them naturally up to a hot temperature so they don't scramble. So while that's working there, heating up here, we've got our eggs. I wanted to talk about our ice cream. Now the machine itself. So this is the canister that goes into the ice that has the rock salt all around it. And generally they're aluminum because aluminum conducts heat or cold very well. The paddle is in there, has lots of holes in there so it can really churn and stir up that ice cream. And that's the nice thing about it. Do not think that once this is done, once you've churned it up, it's going to be hard like the ice cream you see in the grocery store. No, it'll be like a soft serve ice cream. you'll need to take it, put it into the freezer so that it freezes firm if that's what you want. So just keep that in mind. And you can do really any type of ice cream. It just depends on the type of flavors that you want into there. You can do Rocky Road, you can do mint chocolate chip, you can do anything that you want to. So as soon as this comes up to a boil, I'm going to add it into here, and I'm going to let just a cup at a time basically, and I'll add about 3-4 cups into there while I'm whisking those eggs together. Then I'll pour it all back into there so that those eggs heat up, and that's going to actually help thicken our mixture in there, which will be the custard base. At that point, what you'll do is take it, you're going to cool it all off so that it is nice and chilled when it goes into the ice cream maker, and then that's when you'll take it out in the patio, put some ice into it, and then you're going to use rock salt. And I love this, it's a chemistry lesson, because when you add salt to ice, it actually lowers the temperature of freezing. And so that's why salt water, the oceans don't freeze at the same temperature that fresh water. It actually takes cooler weather to freeze salt water than it does just regular water. So that's kind of a little chemistry thing. The ice and the salt are going to lower the temperature so that you can freeze those. So I'll keep working on this when we come back. It's all about caramel sauce. I can't wait. Are you looking for some delicious side dishes for dinner? Well, why not try Green Giant Fresh Minute Mashes? They're simple, they come in 3 different flavors for your dinner, and all you have to do is put them in the microwave, 7 minutes, pop them out, smash them in the bag, and serve them. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Welcome back, everybody. If you're just joining, I'm showing you how to do ice cream, an old-fashioned custard style of ice cream. So what happened is I tempered the eggs by adding some of the hot milk mixture solution into the eggs while whisking, and then added the eggs back into the pot, into the pan, just until it began to thicken and the ice cream custard mixture coated easily the back of a wooden spoon. Then you're just going to take it, strain it, put it in a container, chill it till it's cold, and then freeze it off like you would with your ice cream machine. So just follow the manufacturer's instructions on your ice cream machine to freeze it up for some delicious old-fashioned ice cream. And what I'm working on now is a caramel sauce, of which I've started off with, basically it's like a toffee caramel sauce. So I have a cup of sugar in here and some corn syrup, which is an inverted sugar to help prevent it from turning back to sugar, and a little bit of water just to suspend up the sugar while it's coming up to a boil. Now the reason why I'm going to bring it up to a boil first before I add butter into it is I like that sugar to kind of start to dissolve a little bit into there. And now this has just come up to a boil. It's looking great. And with caramel sauce, you really don't need a thermometer because you're going to actually burn the caramel itself or the sugar. And so as soon as you start to see the sugar beginning to burn, you know it's going to be ready and perfect for what you want. Now, word of caution, when you're working with a hot sugar solution like this, you never want kids or animals bothering you when you're focused on this, because this is going to get up to over 300 degrees. And it would be one thing if it just kind of dripped on like hot water, you'd still be burned severely, but this sticks to you. You can't get it off of your skin, and if you go to kind of brush that off, then it sticks to the other hand, so you have a burn on this hand. So be very, very careful, and make sure that the container or the pot that you're doing it in is large enough to hold the caramel sauce. Because this, just like that pesky ice cream base, it can boil over very quickly if it's too small. So I'm just kind of stirring this around in there, letting that butter in there melt, and this is going to come up to a nice boil, and we're going to cook this until you begin to see basically whiffs of smoke coming off of it, and you'll start to see it beginning to caramelize inside of the pan with the sugar solution. So that's how easy caramel is. And once that begins to happen, you're going to add about a cup of heavy cream. And once again, you need heavy cream. And the reason for that is the fat content. The fat content is what's so important in candy making or caramel sauce like this, because it's what's going to hold this together and give you a delicious flavor. One thing, if you use just regular milk in making your caramel sauce, the milk will generally separate and curdle because it doesn't have enough fat in it to hold it together. So just word to the wise, If you ever do that, I'll tell you a secret on how to fix it. Just get an inversion blender, a stick blender in there, and pulse it together until you hopefully, knock on cutting board wood, can emulsify it all up again so that curdled up milk will emulsify into that solution. So now I'm just going to let this begin to boil up here so that we can get some yummy caramel sauce. I don't know what it is. I think it's just reminds me of the holidays when I smell this. When I was much younger, my mom and sister and I had a peanut brittle company, and we would make peanut brittle. My grandmother would make the best peanut brittle in the world, and so we kind of started making it and selling it, and it put me through college for a good couple of years. But whenever I smell that butter and that sugar mixture, it reminds me of the holidays, because it was the holidays that we were so busy in making it. And so I do love the smell of sugar and butter melting on a pot for that very reason. So the reason why I call this a toffee, basically cream sauce that we're going to make here, caramel sauce, is because it's the same portions that you would use in making toffee. Equal part sugar, equal part of butter to it. A little bit of water to suspend up the sugar in there, but that's toffee. And so I like the rich flavor of this particular sauce when I'm doing it. Now you can buy your own caramel sauce, it's up to you, but this really is not that difficult to make, and it is a bazillion times better than anything in the store. So for those of you out there who want to try this, I highly recommend it because you're going to love it. So I'll just keep stirring this until that comes up to a nice caramel color. Once it does, I'll add the heavy cream into it. Be careful once you add in that heavy cream at that hot temperature. It's going to spitter and spat and all kinds of things, and you want to be really careful not to burn yourself. And then eventually you'll stir it over heat like this to allow it to basically melt back down into caramel sauce. And once that happens, it's ready to go. Remove it from the stove. You can store it for up to 6 to 8 weeks in an airtight container in the refrigerator, and you'll have a homemade caramel sauce. It's just that easy. Don't forget to add in your vanilla to it at the very end, and we'll keep working on this. When we come back, hot fudge.
It's no secret, frozen rolls are fresher than bakery rolls. You see, bakery rolls are made in commercial bakeries. Then they sit all day in stores. Some even contain preservatives because rolls begin to stale immediately. By the time you eat your roll, it could already be days old. Rhodes Bake and Serve is found in your grocer's freezer. Simply take Rhodes frozen roll dough home and let it thaw and rise in a pan. Bake Rhodes rolls in your own oven. Rhodes Bake and Serve, hot and fresh, right out of your oven.
Welcome back, everybody, to Cooking with Chef Bryan. We're working with ice cream and toppings today. So delicious. I have the caramel topping over here that we just made, and it smells so delicious, everybody. I could just drink caramel. I think I could just live on caramel for that matter. But now I want to show you how to make hot fudge. It's really easy to do. So I have the sugar, I have a little bit of salt in here, and I have the cocoa powder in here that I've just taken a whisk it all together so that it combines. And then what I'm going to do is add in the heavy cream and milk. So basically it's half and half, but it's a little more than that because I'm using heavy cream. So I use half a cup of whole milk and then a half a cup of heavy whipping cream. And that gives it a really nice, rich texture on it. So now what we're going to do is bring this up to a boil. Another thing about the fat, cocoa powder is fat soluble. So it needs the fat to actually dissolve in there. And so that's very important. So we're just going to bring this up to a boil and let that kind of thicken up a little bit. I do have flour in here that's going to help thicken that up. Ooh, chocolate! I'm on heaven right now. A little cloud nine with all that chocolate. We'll get that to just come up to a boil. And you want it to boil for just a couple of minutes because what that's going to do is help reduce down the water in there, so it'll almost not caramelize it, but it'll thicken it up, so once it cools, it's going to be that fudgy consistency. But I always like to serve it hot because that's the name, hot fudge, right? All right, so we'll just keep stirring this. As soon as this does come up to a boil, what I'm going to do is just add the butter into it and the vanilla. It kind of seems like Christmas, like I was telling you earlier with making these candies, you know, like a caramel sauce or hot fudge. Just these aromas remind me of the holidays, you know, Christmas and things like that. But very fun and easy to do at home. I grew up with stuff like this because this is just how, like, my great-grandmother and my grandmother, this is how they cooked. They didn't have, you know, caramel sauce that you could easily go buy at the store or hot fudge. They would make it. And so for me, this is like a walk down memory lane, this aromas and everything. So this is beginning to heat up now. My kitchen smells just like chocolate and caramel and butter and oh, delicious. And the ice cream's churning and doing its thing out there. So now the one thing about this is you really do want to keep it stirring. Otherwise it can curdle. That's just the way it is. So I keep it nice and stirring. You don't want it to burn on the bottom of the pan. It's coming up to temperature now, so I'm going to add into it the butter. And I'm going to stir that around so the butter melts into it. There we go. And I just turned off the burner for noise. I'll let this come back up to, a medium-high heat so that it continues to cook there. You want it to come to a boil so that the flour you've added into it will actually cook the starches out of it, and it will begin to thicken up our hot fudge mixture. So this is almost done now. Oh man. Imagine the most delicious devil's food cake you've ever smelled or licked the beaters of. This is it. So it's looking good. Let's just make sure it's boiling. Want to cook all of that flour out of it, and it is done and ready to go here. So when we come back here in just a second, all we have to do is really enjoy this delicious hot fudge, the caramel topping for our ice cream, and our homemade ice cream. Delicious. I can't wait for you all to enjoy it. So I'll keep stirring this just to make sure that everything is mixed in. Like I said, this one does burn easily, so watch it carefully. Don't go away, because when we come back, we're going to finish up all of these delicious desserts.
As summer comes into full swing, it's time to fire up the grill and treat your family to a special outdoor meal featuring everyone's favorite Klondike brand potatoes. Enjoy preparing one of our many chef-inspired recipes from the web, or create your own backyard culinary masterpiece using varieties from the full line of Klondike potatoes. Visit KlondikeBrands.com today for hundreds of recipe ideas and make your summers sizzle with Klondike Brands.
Well, let's finish up our homemade ice cream with our homemade caramel sauce, homemade hot fudge. It smells so amazing here in the kitchen. Honestly, I'm so excited for you all to try this. I've just scooped some up here. I made some ice cream earlier. It's been in the freezer overnight, so it's nice and hard out of there. And I'm just going to scoop those up. I actually took some just some salted peanuts, believe it or not, and just chopped them up, because I like to top my ice cream when I do this with salted roasted peanuts. So delicious. So here's the caramel sauce that we made up. Oh, it is amazing. Look at this. Just look. Yum. That is going to be so delicious. I love caramel. Now for me, we're going to do these separately, a caramel and a hot fudge. But honestly, if this was me eating this ice cream, I'd just combine them both and be good with it. So let's just put that there. Here comes the hot fudge. Oh, smooth and creamy. Oh, watch this. I mean, just look at that hot fudge going over that. It's still steaming ever so slightly. It's just perfect. There we go. And let's finish it up here with some delicious chopped peanuts. You can top them with whatever kind of nut you like. I just happen to like the peanuts on there. I think they're really delicious. You can use any type of mixed nut. Now you can head on over to cookingwithchefbryan.com. You can grab this recipe as well as thousands of other recipes. Honestly, it's a great way and a great resource that you can use for your culinary adventures. Head on over, grab the ice cream recipe, the caramel recipe, the hot fudge recipe, and enjoy some tasty treats when this weather is getting so hot. Thanks for joining me, everybody. And of course, you can find me on all social media platforms. Instagram is the one that I follow the very most. And as always, thanks for saying hi when you see me out and about. I'll see you all next time. You can find all of these complete recipes on my website, cookingwithchefbryan.com.